Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Good evening everyone and good morning everyone. Today, Monday Sutta discussion, day 89. And the title of the talk tonight is Redefining the 4 critical activities for the foundation of mindfulness, Satipatthana. And the 4 critical activities that we will be specifically looking at are Atapi, Sampajano, Satima, Vinaya Loke, Abhijja, Domanasa. So, Atapi basically means ardent. Sampajano means clearly comprehended. Satima means, I would say, a better translation goes by mindful. Vinaya Loke Abhijja Domanasa. Abhijja Domanasa, they are 2 things, covetousness and displeasure. So I would say having removed covetousness and displeasure in regard to the world called body. And this is something interesting. I think a lot of people don't know what does the world mean when it comes to Abhijja Domanasa. And a lot of translations go, even the translations I read today, it goes by the world, and it has not particularly mentioned what this world is all about. I can say to you that it's not the normal world that we know, it's the world called the body, and we will be looking at this body in different interpretations of Theravada. Okay, so the sutta's name is Ambapali Sutta, which is the first sutta of the Satipatthana Sangyutta in the Sangyutta Nikaya. Satipatthana Sangyutta, plays a bigger role in understanding the 4 establishments, or I would say Satipatthanas, I would say the 4 aspects of mindfulness. And when you look at the 2 Satipatthana suttas in the other Nikayas, I would say Digha Nikaya, I think it's number 22, that's the Mahasatipatthana Sutta, which is the longest Satipatthana Sutta. And the Satipatthana Sutta, which is kind of an abridged version, concise version of the Mahasatipatthana Sutta, which appears in the Majjhima Nikaya, number 10. So these 2 suttas explains Satipatthanas, in different explanations. But when it comes to Satipatthana Sangyutta in the Sangyutta Nikaya, it sort of like reveals and simplifies what we understand from those longer or other versions of Satipatthana. So this is a clear place for us to understand what the Satipatthanas are, and most importantly, something that a lot of people misconstrue when it comes to the practice of mindfulness, called Atapi, Sampajano, Satima, and Vinaya Loke Abhijja Domanasa. So without these 4, any of the Satipatthanas wouldn't work. That's what has happened to many. They say, I practice Kayanupassana, I practice Vedananupassana, I practice Chittanupassana, I practice Dhammanupassana, but I don't feel that I am progressing. The reason is that you are not practicing those Satipatthanas with a perspective of Atapi, Sampajano, Satima, and Vinaya Loke Abhijja Domanasa. These 4 attitudes are missing. These 4, I would say, critical activities are missing in your Satipatthana practice. So we will be looking at these 4. But before all that, I want to read the sutta and then to discuss those things gradually. First, let me read the sutta in Pali. So, Satipatthana Sangyutta, the first sutta, which comes under Ambapali Vagga. Ambapali is a very famous courtesan, a courtesan. Courtesan means a wealthy woman at that time, and this woman, met the Buddha just before he passed away, and then she offered a mango. I would say it's a different kind of forest called Ambavana. I wouldn't say mango. I would say Ambavana. This is kind of a very famous garden which she owned at that time. So the sutta goes this way. Ambapali Sutta. Ambapali is the name of that courtesan. Evam mesutang ekang samayang bhagava vesaliyang viharati Ambapali vane. Okay, so it's pretty clear that the Buddha was staying at Vesali. Thus have I heard, on one occasion the Blessed One was dwelling at Vesali in Ambapali's grove. So Vesali. So Vesali is one of the cities, and it was the capital city of the Lichavis. Let me share with you some of the information about the Vesali. So Vesali is the capital city of the Lichavis, and the Buddha paid his first visit to Vesali after 5 years of his enlightenment, and then he spent the vasa there. And it is said that there are 7,007 kings. They are democratic kings, and a lot of people talk about that. Vesali is the first democratic, government. But the problem is that how come a bunch of kings, reign a kind of a state with both, kingship kind of a model and plus democracy. But democracy is found, for the first time from this Vesali city. Anyways, so there were 7,707 kings, and I hope that they had a lot of retinue, they had a lot of people, but they democratically governed the city. And we know that there was one time this city called Vesali was attacked by a famine, by the non-humans. They attacked the city, and then what happened? People were really, suffering a lot from different diseases, and non-humans came to, eat the flesh of those dead bodies. At that time, Lichavi kings, they thought it would be good to approach the Buddha, who was staying at Veluvanarama in the Rajagaha city, in the Magadha state. They approach one individual called Lichavi Mahali. He was a friend of Bimbisara who lived in Vesali, and the kings approached Lichavi Mahali to persuade the king Bimbisara so that they would, they will be able to get a chance to, convince the Buddha to come to Vesali and then to do something, kind of do a blessing. And then what happened? The king was very happy. King Bimbisara was very happy, and then he approached the Buddha and he said, "Dear the Buddha, please visit the city of Vesali and then bless those beings, because it's a very tragedy that we can see in the city of Vesali." And then what happened? Buddha spent 5 days to approach Ganges, because it takes 5 days to come from Rajagaha to Ganges, and then another 3 days from Ganges to Vesali. So King Bimbisara escorted the Buddha up until the Ganges, from Rajagaha to Ganges for 5 days, and then across the river is the Vesali, and then it's another state, so that Lichavins came and welcomed the Buddha, and then the Buddha stayed in Vesali for some time. So what happened was that at that time, at that time the Buddha recited Ratana Sutta, which is one of the very famous suttas in the Buddhist cultures. And then Buddha also taught that Ratana Sutta to Bhante Ananda. So he has to go to 3 walls of the city to sprinkle, blessed water, so that that tragedy will go away. So we understand this is Vesali. So this Ambavana, Ambapali Vana, is also in the Vesali city, which is also adjacent to the city, another suburb. And how did Kotisan Ambapali meet the Buddha? So we know that just before Buddha passed away, Buddha spent one vassa in a city called Beluwagama, which is one of the suburbs of Kusinara. At that time, before the Buddha, took the vassa, Kotisan Ambapali was able to meet the Buddha, and she invited the Buddha, into the forest called Ambavana, and the Buddha happily, received that invitation because he wanted to, give the Dhamma to Kotisan Ambapali. But the commentary says, the Digha Nikaya commentary says that just before Ambapali's visit, just before the visit of Buddha to Ambapali's place, Buddha advised the monks, you had to keep your mind very mindful, steadfast, because Kotisan Ambapali is very pretty. So for those monks who have not attained Anagami, they might be in jeopardy. They might be in confusion. They might be, they might be confused by looking at Ambapali. So Ambapali was a very pretty woman. So we know that Ambapali and Kim Bimbisara had a relationship, right? Apart from that marriage, we know he got a son called Ajasatha. Kim Bimbisara was one of the patrons of this Kotisan Ambapali. Because of that connection, they got a son called Vimala Kondanya. So Vimala Kondanya of the only son Ambapali got from Kim Bimbisara. So anyways, the Buddha advised the monks, you had to keep your minds steadfast and mindful before we go to Ambapali's forest, because those are monks who haven't attained Anagami or Arahant. They might be in trouble because pleasing sensual images, because of this woman. So because she was so pretty. But anyways, there is a background story of how come this Ambapali was a courtesan. It is said that at the time of Sikhi, the Buddha's Sikhi, she was helping some processions of bhikkhunis. One day she was joining kind of a pagoda, veneration. What happened was that one Arahant bhikkhuni spitted unexpectedly in the compound of the pagoda, and then Ambapali didn't know at that time. And then what happened? Ambapali was in reproach, and she said, "What prostitute, what courtesan has been spitting here?" She didn't know, but she was in anger, and because she insulted an Arahant bhikkhuni, even without knowing who did that spitting, that particular big bad karma followed her even at the time she spent her last time. Actually, she became an Arahant after became a follower of the Buddha. Not even her, but also Vimala Kondanya, her son, because she got a son from Bimbisara. Anyway, so too much information about Ambapali and Vesali. But I want to tell you that some of this background things about these names, so you will know better about these things. Okay. Tatrako bhagava bhikkhu amantesi bhikkhavoti badanteti te bhikkhu bhagavato pachassosum Bhagava etada vocha. Then they are the blessed one address the bhikkhus thus bhikkhus. Venerable said, the bhikkhus replied, the blessed one said this. Now, this is the abstract of Satipatthana Sutta which we know from the Mahasatipatthana Sutta, Digha Nikaya 22, and Majjhima Nikaya, I guess, number 10. But this sutta is a very short synopsis of the Satipatthana, so we can easily understand what it talks about. Okay, how does it go? Eka yeno ayang bhikkhave maggu sattanang visuddhya soka pariddavanang samatikkamaya dukkha domanassanang atthangamaya nyayassa adigamaya nibbanassa satchikiriyaya. Okay, here we go to talk about the Satipatthanas. Okay. First, I want to tell you that Satipatthana is the most famous sutta in the whole Buddhist canon. Okay? Because Satipatthana Sutta is the place where Buddha directly says there is only one direct path to the Nibbana. And because of that, and all the major information, main information about the Nibbana, not even the Four Noble Truths, not even other defilement, not even the the Noble Eightfold Path, everything is included in this Satipatthana suttas. I mean, in the Mahasatipatthana Sutta, in the Satipatthana Sutta, and even in this sutta, and in most suttas in the Satipatthana Samyutta that we study today. But I will only discuss the first sutta because of the time constraint. So one sutta in the Satipatthana in the Samyutta Nikaya says that, tell you the exact number. Okay, it is also one of the suttas in this Samyutta, Satipatthana Samyutta, Brahma Sutta. When the Buddha, brought to forth, when the Buddha revealed that Satipatthanas are the only path, or Satipatthanas which will make the only path to awakening, that is the time when the Brahma Sahampati descends from his heaven and then applauds the Buddha. So now we know Brahma Sahampati did not invite the Buddha up until the Buddha thought to oneself, who am I going to talk to? But in this sutta, Brahma Sutta 47.18, it says that it is only when the Buddha announced that the Satipatthanas and the practice of Satipatthana is the only way to Nibbana, only at that time Mahabrahma, I would say Brahma Sahampati, descends from his Brahma world and then applauds the Buddha, which means that is the clear beginning of the involvement of the Brahma Sahampati. And it is also said in one of the other suttas, 47.31, the Buddha mentions the four Satipatthanas amongst those things unheard before. So people never heard of these four Satipatthanas up until he explained, he announced that these are the Satipatthanas and which lead somebody, oneself, every one of us to the Nibbana. Okay. Now we will be looking at this stock expression, the stock paragraph of the Satipatthana. Let's take a look at that. Ekayano ayang bhikkhave maggo. Okay. Because this is the one-way path for the purification of beings. This is the one way. So there are no two ways for the Nibbana. So there's only one way. Okay. Sattanang visuddhya. Okay, Sattanam Visuddhya, for the purification of being. So that means we are always impure, right? We are defiled all the time. So if we go to commentary, we can see what is this purification like. Sattanam Visuddhyati Ragadi Malehi Abhijja Visamalobadihi cha Upakkilesehi Sankilitta Chittanam Sattanam Visuddhathaya. Okay, now the commentary says all beings, they are tainted by on one side raga dosa moha, greed, hatred, delusion. On the other hand, by the 16 upakilesas, called that is one of the other impurities. So there are 3 stains, raga, dosa, moha, and there are 16 upakilesas. What are they? Abhijja, visamalobha. Abhijja means covetousness. Visamalobha means unrighteous greed. So basically, abhijja means that somebody is strongly greedy. There's a strong greed in oneself. And visamalobha means unrighteous greed, right? Which means that you are not even greedy about yourself, about your stuff, too greedy about yourself, but also you are greedy about what other people have. Okay. Number 2, the upakilesa is vyapada, ill will. 3, koda, anger. Upanaha means hostility. Makha means denigration. Palasa means domineering. Issa means envy. Macharya means avarice, stinginess. Maya means hypocrisy. Sateya means fraud. Tamba means obstinacy. Sarambha means presumption. Mana means conceit. Atimana means arrogance. Mada means vanity. Pamada means negligence. Now, if any one of you is further interested about knowing these 16, there is a different series that I have done in 2018 in the Paṭisota YouTube channel. You can click on that and you can see all these explanations about each upakilesa in short videos. Okay, that's something you must watch. So it says that beings are impure by the both 3 stains, raga, dosa, moha, greed, hatred, delusion, and plus the 16 upakilesas which I just mentioned. Abhijja, visamalobhadi, 16 upakilesas. Ragadi malehi abhijja visamalobhadi hicha upakkilesehi sankilitta chittanam sattanam. So people's mind, beings' minds are defiled by the both 3 stains and 16 upakilesas. So the purpose of teaching the Satipattanas is to purify their minds, which are already tainted, at the same time defiled by the 16 impurities. Soka pariddavanam samatikkamaya. The commentary goes, Sokassacha paridevassacha samatikkamaya. What is soka? What is parideva? Soka means sorrow. Parideva means lamentation. Okay. So, Sokassacha paridevassacha samatikkamaya. Basically, it means for the overcoming of samatikkamaya means overcoming. For the overcoming of sorrow and lamentation. So we always struggling with soka and parideva, right? Because we think that things go well for us the way that we think, but things don't happen the way we want. So that we are very sorrowful. At the same time, if things are too serious for us, then we go into another level of sorrow, which you call parideva, right? Which means lamentation. And then dukkha domanassanam attangamaya. Folks, you need to understand, I'm now explaining to you why Satipattanas were given. Okay? So the first reason, Sattanam Visuddhya. We already talked about, which is to purify the beings whose minds are tainted and defiled, okay, by 3 stains and 16 upakilesas. Second, soka pariddavanam samatikkamaya. For the overcoming of both sorrow and what you call lamentation. Third, dukkha domanassanam atthangamaya. Okay, what does it mean? Kāyika dukkassaca cetasika domanassacaati imesang dvinnam atthangamaya. For the passing away of pain and displeasure. So pain means kāyika dukkha, the physical pain, and displeasure is domanassa, mental pain, right? So if you take a daily, if you take a day, how do we spend a day? And we always have physical pains and mental pains depending on different individuals, right? Ime sandvinna atthangamaya, for the passing away of pain and displeasure. Nyayassa adhigamaya. Okay, now this is something a lot of people misunderstand. What is nyaya? I would say it's not jnana, atthangamaya. Jnana, nyayassa adhigamaya. What is nyaya? Nyayo vucchati ariyo atthangiko maggo. So, nyaya means, nyaya is method. Okay? Nyaya means method, not jnana. Nyaya. Nyaya is method. So, what's the method which is being expected by the Satipattana's practice? Nyayo vucchati ariyo atthangiko maggo. So, the method is the Noble Eightfold Path. And then finally, nibbanassa satchakiriyaya. Okay, it's pretty clear for the realization of the Nibbana. Satchakiriya is realization, Nibbana. But in the Atthakatha commentary it says, tanha vana virahitatta Nibbananti. So you might perhaps understand vana is the craving. Nibbana means it's like vana. So somebody who is trying to, go away from craving. Nibbana, vana, nivana, nirvana. And then when it comes to Pali, and there's a reduplication, and nibbana. Laddha namassa amatassa satchakiriyaya atta pachakkayati buddham. So which means, which is a self-realization of the nibbana, right? Nobody can make you attain nibbana. They can only teach you, guide you, but you are the one who has to self-realize the nibbana. That's why it says atta pachakkayati. Okay. Okay, so that's the meaning of the stock passage called Ekayano ayang bhikkhave maggo sattanang visuddhiya soka pariddhavanang samatikkamaya dukkha domanassanang atthangamaya nyayassa adhigamaya nibbanassa satchakiriyaya. Okay, so which is pretty clear. Okay? Now I want to talk about what is Satipatthana. Now, sati basically means, we know it's not attention, right? There's another word called attention, manasikara. But sati basically means mindfulness. Patthāna is establishing. Now, in some explanations, they say, the decombination is going to be, the decombination goes like, in two ways. Satipatthana, which means establishing mindfulness. Another one goes Sati Upattana. So Upattana means standing near the Sati. But the commentary says Satya Patthanam Satipattanam. Satipatthana means, technically it means establishing Sati in you. So now we can say in you, basically in the four aspects, right? Hattitthana asatthānādi, right? So people can, those of them who work with elephants and horses, they know how to establish horses and elephants. So all in the same way, we got to establish mindfulness with four aspects of our life. So the aspect and the particular mindfulness shouldn't be two things at the end. Now, I will explain to you that. That's where people might get misunderstood. Okay. Now, Let's get into some of the commentarial explanation so that you will understand it better. Yadi eva kasma satipaṭṭhānāti bahuvachanam katanti. Okay, now there's a question which has been asked by the commentarians. Why the word Satipattan is plural? Satipatthānā, even in the Sutta Kolamba Pali, we know. Yadidang chattaru Satipatthāna. Why it is in plural? Okay, this is the reason. Satīnang bahutta ārammana bhedena hi bahuka satiyo. Because Satīnang bahutta, mindfulness is different. Because people become mindful. People can be mindful differently. Ārammana bhedena, there are a lot of different objects where people can be mindful. There's not only one object. Now, even when you look at the 4 aspects of mindfulness, how many objects that we can see in the practice? So, because the objects are multiple, and because of the multiplicity of the objects, the word Satipatthana becomes plural by making it as being Satipatthānā, not Satipatthāna. Then, here's another question. It's raised up. Ata maggoti kasma ekavachananti. So when the word Satipatthana becomes plural, then why the magga is maggo? Now, what is it? This way. Ekayano ayambikave maggo. Now this is singular. But sattanang visuddhiya soka pariddhavanang samatikkamaya dukkha domanassanang atthangamaya nyayasa adigamaya nibbanasa satchikiriya yadidang chattaru satipatthana. There we can see the plurality of the word satipatthana. But why maggo? Why is it in singular form? This is the reason. Ata maggoti kasma ekavachananti. Magga nattena ekatta. The path cannot be manifold. Even people can get a lot of objects. The path is one-fold. There's only one path, single path. Even people take different objects to practice mindfulness, satipatthana, but the path that they are practicing is one-fold. Can be different. Okay? Chatassopi eta satiyo magganattena ekattam gacchanti. Chatassopi eta satiyo. So these 4 aspects of mindfulness, magganattena ekattam gacchanti. They heading towards the goal called nibbana in one way. So they don't go in different, variegated various paths. All the 4 aspects. Let's say somebody may practice Kayanupassana. Another person might practice Vedanānupassana. Someone else might practice Chittanupassana or Dhammanupassana. But when they practice any object out of these 4, they go on the same path to the Nibbana. That's why Magga is in singular. That is what we understand from the Attakatha. Maggoti ke nattena maggo. Now the next question is why is Magga? On what meaning is the Magga? Okay, Nibbana Magga nattena. Nibbana Magga nattena. It is because the Nibbanic path is one-fold. That is Satipatthana. So Satipatthanas are helping people to find different objects to go on that one-fold single path. Okay, let's get into Kayanupassana. Today I'm going to tell you some of the teachings that you may have not even heard, because I'm not trying to say that I'm the one who's saying all that, but I'm using the commentary to explain and why some people are having a very hard time to understand Satipatthana. So this is why, because they don't know this information. Let's take Kayanupassana to understand how to practice this Anupassana. Buddha says Anupassana is the way how to practice each, Satipatthanas. Okay. Now, if we take Kayanupassana, Kaya basically means Rupa Kayo, which means our body. Kayanupassiti Kayang Anupassana Silo. If somebody can looks at the body based on the reality, that is Kayanupassana. Now, this is why some people ask a question. Okay, the meditations regarding Kayanupassana, breath meditation. Second, what you call meditation on different postures. Meditation on, 32 repulsive places. Meditation on a dead body which is discarded in a cemetery. Meditation on elements. So people wonder how clearly they have to look at these objects. How do we see them? Because these are real situations that happen to all of us, because we breathe in, breathe out, and we always have postures, and we know that there are apparently 32 bodily parts, and also we know in today's world people don't discard dead bodies, but if it is discarded, we know what will happen to a dead body, and we know the elements. So how do we tap into these objects with reality? This is how you can tap into reality with those objects. Aniccato anupassati. Aniccato anupassati. Okay, which means when you look at the body, when you look at any object of any aspect of Satipattan, Kayanupassana, Vedananupassana, Chittanupassana, Dhammanupassana, you must look at it with anicca, which means impermanence. Aniccato anupassati, no niccato. Dukkhato anupassati, no sukhato. You need to look at it by understanding this is suffering, this is dissatisfaction, this is unsatisfactoriness, and not satisfactoriness. Now, a lot of people, when they look at something, okay, my car, my house, my people, my education, my job, etc., etc., it's permanent. There are jobs which are permanent too, right? Permanent. And then these are permanent. This money is permanent. These people are permanent, right? So they naturally forget that these things are not permanent, because they are really impermanent. So until you don't look at pleasurable things that you like with anicca, changing nature, you will never be able to practice any satipatthanas. So Buddha says, use this way, look at everything by anicca, especially look at those objects, anapanasati, iriyapata, those, what you call, dvatin sakara, dead body, 10 different things that happen to a dead body, and elements, and all that. One has to look at them through impermanence, aniccato, and then dukkhato. Look at them by understanding the real reality of the dissatisfaction, which can be manifest in those things, right? Now, how do we practice impermanence with breathing? I breathe in and that's it. And there's no more breathing in that setting. And there's another new breathing that can come after I breathe out, right? So, which is always swinging, right? Between anicca and anicca and anicca, right? And anattato anupassati, no attano. We have to always look at every phenomenon, either kayanupassana, vedananupassana, either bodily things, or feelings, or thoughts, or any other phenomena through non-self. They are not mine. I can't say it is I, me, myself in reality. Nibbindati, no nandati. We have to frustrate in those things in a proper way. Not that I don't want to have this thing. So because we have to maintain our atta under self, under conventional perspective, we have to be careful. By maintaining that understanding, we have to try to understand the ultimate truth, which you call these perspectives. Virajyati anupassati, virajyati no rajati, which means one detaches and one does not attach to any object, right? Nirodheti, no samudeti. Okay, one abandons and not try to think the opposite. Paṭinissaggati, no adhyati. One releases, renounces, and not try to take it back. Okay, so this is how we have to practice anupassanas. I mean, all these 4 aspects of mindfulness, satipatthanas. Sotam aniccato anupassanto nicca sanyam pajahati. When anyone practices any aspect of mindfulness, I would say any anupassanas, kaya anupassana, vedana anupassana, chitta anupassana, dhamma anupassana, then nicca sanyam pajahati. She abandons the perception of permanence. So why we try to think that things are permanent, people are permanent, I am permanent, I am not dying, I am not, all that, because we believe in the perception of the permanence. Dukkhato anupassanto sukha sanyam pajahati. So whenever we look at any object through the perception of dukkha, dissatisfaction, then we will understand that we should not develop the perception of the everlasting happiness, because there is no everlasting happiness. We know happiness, there is happiness, but which is not everlasting. So, I mean, it's okay to experience happiness by understanding happiness is not everlasting. I mean, happiness which is out of the Nibbana, all the other happiness types. Anattato anupassanto atta sanyam pajahati. Whenever you look at any object in the satipatthanas, 4 satipatthanas, through non-self, you will understand that there arises the perception in you, this non-self perception, and you will deconstruct the perception of self. You won't entertain that anymore. Nibbiddanto nandim pajahati. So that means whenever you are frustrated about these objects, you abandon the joy, unnecessary joy that you've been developing so far about those objects. Virajjanto ragam pajahati. Whenever you practice detachment about pleasurable things, then you are developing the perception of detachment, and then at the same time you are giving up the raga, lust. Nirodhinto samudayam pajahati. Whenever you are abandoning the pleasurable things, then what happens? You are giving up the arising of any sensual things. And then paṭinissajjanto ādānaṁ pajahati. Whenever you renounce your pleasures, then you will not try to encourage try to possess, acquire pleasurable things. Okay, so I wanted to explain to you this stock passage and how this works. At the same time, a basic understanding about the 4 aspects of mindfulness, because I have given a lot of other mindfulness talks about definition about the Satipatthana Sutta, especially Satipatthana Sutta in the previous videos. I don't want to get into those details. Now we have come to talk about the 4 critical activities. So this is the best part of the talk. The first word that we have to understand when we want to practice Satipatthana is atapi. What is atapi? Okay. Tisu bhavesu kilese atapatiti atapo. Okay, which means if someone can modify defilements in the three existences, which means what are the three existences? We know them. The bhavas, we know that there are three bhavas, kama, rupa, arupa. If someone can modify the defilements that are relevant to these three existences, kama loka, rupa loka, arupa loka, which means sensual world, material world, and non-material world, that is what we call modification no atapi. Virya setam nama. Virya is another term for this, which means energy. Atapo asangatiti atapi. Now basically it means if someone can modifies the defilements that are relevant to these three existences worlds, kama, rupa, arupa, that person is atapi. So ardent, in the normal translation means this particular person's activity. So basically ardent, when it comes to Pali, it specifically means someone who is trying to modify defilements in the three existences called kama, rupa, arupa. Number 2, this is the second critical activity, sampajana. What is sampajana? Now this is really interesting too. Sampajana in the commentary means sampajanya sankhatena jnanena samannagato. Now the verb called sampajanati is something we have to study. Pajanati is to know. Sampajanati means to know fully, maybe to know in all aspects. That's why it says that Satipatthana always encourages one to think Sati and Sampajanya, they both work in tandem, right? They both work in tandem. So whenever you are mindful, then if you don't have Sampajanya, your practice of mindfulness wouldn't flourish. So in the commentary, it further describes 4 ways to practice Sampajanya. Sattaka Sampajanya, Sappaya Sampajanya, Gochara Sampajanya, Asammoha Sampajanya. So these are the things that one has to be concerned about this Sampajanya practice. First, what is Sattaka Sampajanya? Sattaka means purpose. So one has to refrain from activities that are irrelevant to the path. So one can't understand it from the sati. One can only understand the hazards. I would say, how can I say it in better words? I would say, misleading things to your practice. So you understand the misleading places of your practice by the Sattaka Sampajanya, called the first part of the Sampajanya called purpose. Sappaya Sampajanya. Sappaya means suitability. So whenever you have the Sappaya Sampajanya, which means suitability, that means you understand these are the suitable activities that I should do to encourage, to develop my Sampajanya. So you are careful in executing those suitable activities that can retain your Sampajanya. That's called Sappaya Sampajanya. Number 3, Gochara Sampajanya, domain, or what we call by maintaining sensory restraints consistent with mindful. So you are trying to maintain your domain of your mindfulness practice towards these specific things. Let's say you are breathing in and breathing out, but there you wouldn't see that much thing. But when it comes to your postures, abhikkhante, we know there are different explanations. When it comes to that, we know in the practice of iriyapata, we understand abhikkhante patikkante sampajanakari hoti. When going forward and returning, you are practicing sampajanya, full awareness. Alokite vilokite sampajanakari hoti. When looking ahead and looking aside, you are practicing full awareness, of called sampajanya. Samminjite pasarite sampajanakari hoti. When drawing in and extending the limbs, you practice the full awareness called sampajanya. Not even that. Sanghati patta chivara dharne, when you put on your clothes, and when you eat, when you use all the other activities pertaining to your need requisites. Asite, pite, kaite, saite, sampajanakara. When you eating, when you drinking, when you chewing, when you tasting, when you sleep, when you falling asleep, when you waking up, and not even them. Gate, tite, nisidne, sutte, jagarte, bhasete, when you speak, not even all that. Tunhi bhavi, even when you are keeping yourself silent, you need to develop full awareness by thinking about those particular activities. So now we understand that your domain of sampajanya is those things, those activities. So your domain. So you understand you need to maintain your sampajanya with those domains, right? Your specific activities. The last category of the sampajanya is asammoha, non-delusion. So the main aim of your sampajanya practice is to see things as they are, and not see things as we are, right? So Sataka means purpose. Your sampajanya has a purpose. Sappaya means suitability. Your sampajanya practice has a suitability or appropriateness. Gochara, which means your sampajanya practice has a domain, certain subjects. Asammoha, which means your sampajanya practice directly takes you to non-delusion, perspective. Okay? So sampajanya basically means full awareness, which you have to apply to all those activities under these 4 sampajanya practices. That's the second critical activity. Number 3, satimati. Okay, satimati, which means satima, which means mindful, but we have a different explanation from the Atthakatha commentary. Kaya pariggahikaya satya samannagato ayang pana yasma satya arammanang pariggahitva panyaya anupassati nahi sati virahitassa anupassana nama atti tenevaha satincha kvaham vikrave sampattikam vadamiti. So what does it mean? Kaya pariggahikaya satya samannagato ayang pana yasma satya arammanang pariggahitva panyaya anupassati. So whenever you acquire mindfulness, you are able to look into the reality of anything. That's why Buddha says, Satin chakvahang bhikkhave sabbhattikam vadami. Monks, I say that mindful sati is a constant practice. It's not a practice that you do and you finish it. It should go consistently. And your sati practice has to be consistent with sampajanya. And what will happen to those who do not practice sati always? Asampajano upaya pariggahe anupaya parivajjanena cha sammuihanti muttasati. So they become disillusioned, they have wrong means, they get disillusioned. Upaya parichage anupaya pariggahe cha asamatto hoti. They won't understand the right means to do things, and they also don't understand the wrong means of the phenomena. Tenasatang kammattanang na sampajati. Okay, so whenever you don't understand the right means, right strategies, and the wrong strategies, you won't be able to practice any object of the Satipatthana practice. Tenassa tang kammattanang na sampajati. Tasma yesang dhammanang anubhavena tang sampajati. Okay? That's why sati is such an indispensable practice to flourish your mindfulness practice. Okay? And the last critical, I would say, the critical activity for your mindfulness practice, satipatthanas. Abhicca, vinaya loke abhicca domanasam. Now, I mentioned to you at the beginning, a lot of people who translated Satipatthana Suttas, they have translated Vinaya loke abhijja domanasang, to be the physical world. But loka here doesn't mean the physical world. Let's go to the commentary. Tatta vinayati tadanga vinayena va vikambana vinayeva vinayita. Which means, vinay, what is vinaya? Vinaya means if you can abandon the both abhijja, which means covetousness, and displeasure, temporary, tadanga vinaya, or even by suppression. So you can even suppress for a short, subdue for a short time. Okay? Locate. Now this is very interesting. Locate. Tasmin eva kai. Now this is not the world that we see outside, physical world. Here loka means vinaya loki abhijja domanasa. Now the translation goes this way. Here bhikkhus, a bhikkhu dwells contemplating the body in the body, ardent, atapi, clearly comprehending sampajana, mindful satima, having removed covetousness and displeasure in regard to the world. In regard to the world means not the physical world, it is this body. Now this is how it is further explained. Kayo hi ida lujjana palujjana tena lokoti adippeto. Further explanations go this way. Yasma panassa na kaya matte eva abhijja domanasam pahiyati. Vedana di supi pahiyati eva. Tasma panchapi upadana kanda lokoti vibhange butta. So the Abhidhamma book called Vibhanga Pakarana says that this loka clearly means the 5 upadana kanda, which means rupa upadana kanda, which means the 5 aggregates with clinging is the world, which is what we can see in here. Tattakatamo loko sweva kayo lokoti. It's this physical body. Now for those who misunderstood loka to be the physical world, now here is the word. Loka is not the physical world, it is your body. Especially not the physical body, but the 5 aggregates supported by clinging. Upadana. Panchupadana. Kanda is what? Is given as Vinaya Satima Vinaya Loke Abhijja Duma. So Loke there means the 5 Upadana Kandas, not the physical world. Okay? So we know Vedana Anupassana. Vedana Anupassana means those 3 types of Vedana. We have to look at them by Anicca Dukkha Anatta. It's pretty clear. And let me talk about the last thing. We know Kaya Anupassana includes establishment of mindfulness based on the body, includes a couple meditations, Anapanasati, and posture meditation, reflection of the repulsiveness of the body parts, Phona Dhatu Manasikara, reflections on the elements and the charnel ground contemplation. So these are the objects. But the thing that I taught you today is that whenever you practice these objects, you must practice with Anicca, Dukkha, Anatta. That's how you're gonna flourish your mindfulness practice. Otherwise, you won't be able to practice these objects. And Vedana Anupassana, Sukha, Dukkha, Adukkha, Masukha. Pleasant feeling, unpleasant feeling, and neither pleasant nor unpleasant feeling. So you gotta look at them and then understand whether you have it or you don't have it, whether you subdued it, whether you're going to subdue it. So in different ways, if you can take a look. Chittanupassana, and we know those 16 types of thoughts. Saraga, Vitaraga, Sadosa, Vitadosa, Samoha, Vitamoha, Sankitta, Vikitta, Mahaggata, Amahaggata, Sauttaras, Anuttara, Samahita, Asamahita, Vimutta, Avimutta. So there are 6 defiled thoughts, and then the rest are jhanic thoughts. So whenever you have those thoughts, whether you have them, then you understand you have them. Whether you don't have them, you understand that I don't have them. Whether you want to abandon them, whether you have already abandoned them, you understand where they are at different stages. That is Chittanupassana. And Dhammanupassana is not mental objects, which is a problematic translation. Dhammanupassana means basically, I would say, mental factors and categories. So we know there are 5 hindrances, there are 5 aggregates, there are 6 bases, and there are 7 bojjhangas, there are Four Noble Truths. Pancha Nivarana Pabbha, Pancha Kanda Pabbha, Shadayatana Pabbha, Satabojjhanga Pabbha, Arya Satya Pabbha. So one has to understand one's phenomena based on these Dhammic factors. Let's say I have a problem with my Rupakanda, then I understand that problem with the Rupupakanda, etc., etc. Finally, I want to say, at the end of the Satipatthana Sutta, it says that at most it will take 7 years for someone to attain either Anagami or Arhan by practicing Satipatthana. Maybe 6 years, 5 years, 4 years, 3 years, 2 years, 1 year, 7 months, 6 months, 5 months, 3 months, 2 months, 1 month, 15 days, and the minimum time for someone to practice Satipatthana and to attain either Anagami or Nibbana is 7 days. So which means you always have a chance to practice this. You can get 7-day result, or you may go to 7 years if you're really a serious practitioner of Satipatthana. Okay, so this is what we had to understand from the Ambapali Sutta today. So there are 4 critical activities which we discussed today. They are Atapi, Sampajano, Satima, Vinaya Loki, Abhijjhātu. So I hope that you learn new things today, especially most of the hidden things that you never heard. The interpretation wise and the commentary wise. I hope that you utilize these critical 4 aspects whenever you practice 4 Satipatthanas. Let's share all the good karmas with the deities and the departed individuals. May all the good karmas that we've been doing so far be shared by all the departed individuals who passed away in the name of all of us. May they be happy and peaceful. May they attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Idammi ñāti nang hotu sukhita huntu ñātiyo. Idammi ñāti nang hotu sukhita huntu ñātiyo. Idammi ñāti nang hotu sukhita huntu ñātiyo. Also, let's share all the good karmas with the deities, the devas, nagas who protect us and who, live in those heavens and Brahma worlds. May they be happy and peaceful. May they attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Ittavata cha ammehi sambatang punya sampadang sabbe deva anumodantu sabbe bhuta anumodantu sabbe satta anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya Akasattha cha bummattha deva naga mahindika punyantang anumoditva chirang rakkantu lokasasanang chirang rakkantu desanang chirang rakkantu mang paranti. Finally, let's make a great wish. May all the good karmas we've been accumulating so far by learning, by studying these 4 critical aspects, activities of Satipatthana Sutta, be helpful for all of us to attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Now I'm going to be blessing you with a couple more stanzas. Please receive the blessings. Abhivadana silis nichang baddha pachayino chattaru dhamma vaddhanti. Ayuvanno sukham balang ayurarogya sampatti sagga sampatti me viche ato nibbana sampatti iminati samin shatu. Sadhu, sadhu. Thank you for watching, and I hope that you learn a lot. Be safe and have a good day. And have a good night for those who join from.